one of the guys we mentioned was Lucas Niang, who might be on the PUP list, recovering from his patella injury that he had last year. And he is with two other guys actually might start on the season on the PUP. It's Justyn Ross, who we talked about last week with Cornell Powell, who's his teammate there. And then also Rashad Fenton, who had shoulder surgery in the offseason. I believe he's still recovering from that. So the guys who potentially could be on PUP. Well, the big thing with the Justyn Ross is Justyn Ross probably got the most hype of our class, really. I would say he's up there with the guys who drafted and the guys who went undrafted as far as media and social media and our fans going nuts of his one-handed catch that he had during minicamp or the rookie OTAs. But the question I do have is, the big thing with him was injury concern and, coming out of college, he had a couple injuries. A stress fracture in his foot is one of them. And there was a photo, and I don't know if you remember this, but he didn't finish off the mandatory minicamp. There was the last 2 days. It was an undisclosed injury. They didn't really go into detail on what that was. Then 2 weeks ago, he was seen at some high school community event where he was in boot, and he was using a stroller for an injury on his left foot, which is the same foot he had the stress fracture back in November 2021. So, I guess the question is, if you were in charge with the Kansas City Chiefs, how would you kind of with this stress fracture, with this, the foot injury that he has, how would you kind of monitor this and kind of deal with Justyn Ross, knowing and what we know about his injury history, and we kind of have to be kind of proceed with caution, right?
Yeah. You know what, man? Here's the deal. It's real simple in the NFL. And you learn this usually your first year. And you can't make the club in the tub. And I know we talk about potential, and there's a lot of guys that come into the league with potential that may not make it. That's just reality. And there's draft picks that's not going to make it. That's reality. And so Justyn Ross, who was undrafted free agent, trying to make the roster with this kind of setback is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. He was kind of looking at uphill battle anyway because of, the medical history he had, right? And so now starting on PUP, it's going to be difficult for him. It's going to be difficult. Not impossible. Don't get me wrong. It's not impossible. I'm just saying it's going to be difficult because I think right now what you have on the roster as far as wide receivers, there's a lot of competition and capable guys out there right now that can catch the football for the Chiefs. Yeah. That's the reality of it. That's the deal. And so that's a good place to be, man. I'm telling you, right? At this moment, I know everybody kind of talks about it, that the one-hand catch and stuff like that. Man, look. I mean, sure, we had his partner on last week, man. Wasn't that a great interview, man, with Cornell Powell? Man, incredible, man. Great young man. And so I tell you what, he's the guy that got that fire in him. He's been here for a year. He's a guy I think that could go out and he could go and make some plays. And so, it's good to kind of look at a guy and his potential, what he could possibly do in the league. But look, you got to deal with the guys that you have right now who's in the room, right? And so, you got MDS, you got JuJu, you got Skyy Moore, you got Mecole Hardman, and you got Josh Gordon. You got who else? Man, there's a whole
Cornell
Powell, right? Of course. Who?
Fountain.
Reese Fountain. I mean, come on, man.
There's a new guy that everyone's raving about, the dude from Tampa, Justyn Watson.
Yeah, who's played a little bit. So so there's guys that's there and they hungry. So I know everybody was kind of looking at him like, oh, look what he did in college. Look, there was a lot of great guys in college that made a lot of different plays. That's always going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen in the NFL roster. You're going to have guys like that.
Oh, yeah.
The Chiefs are loaded with receivers who are going to come out here and compete. And so, it's unfortunate that Justyn Ross is at the position that he's in, but it's going to be tough with him. And so just the same thing, man. It's the NFL, man. They move on. These things happen. I'm not saying they're moving on right now. I'm just saying because of the injury, where he's at right now, it might be a little tough. But I'm always pushing for a guy, man. I love a guy that shows perseverance, has gone through some adversity. I cheer for guys like that. I really do. And so Justyn Ross could, go past when nobody drafted him, an undrafted free agent comes out and he's in a boot and he's got this medical condition. But against all odds, he still makes it. And he still comes out and he's just burning everybody up. Man, I love it. I would just absolutely love that story. So don't get me wrong. I'm pushing for the guy to make it, man. But I'm a realist too. I'm just, I know NFL teams. I know how these things work. When you do see talented guys and something happens, it might just be a setback or something like that, especially if not a drafted guy. It's kind of it's a tight situation. It's tight.
And I'm not one to, you've been there before. You've seen guys who had all talent in the world, just didn't make it for whatever reason, whether they were nicked up a lot and a lot of injuries happened, things that they couldn't really control, right? That was out of their control. Right. You've seen that, firsthand. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. All the time. It's year in, year out. There's times you see like, man, look at this guy out here, man, making plays. And then all of a sudden something happens, he gets an injury. And then he's down 2 or 3 days. And then what you steadily start seeing is they're moving him out of the playing time. And so when you start seeing that they suddenly moving him out of the playing time, start moving a little bit back, from the depth chart. He starts falling a little bit behind and you start lagging. You start seeing him going into treatment. And it's like, dang, God, man, I was pushing for this guy. Every year in and year out, man, we just see it. I've seen it year in, year out. That a guy that you say, man, this dude's got talent. He can play NFL football. And then all of a sudden, the unfortunate happens. So, I don't know, man.
The thing about Ross is we don't really, no one knows his injury. We just saw a picture with him with a boot on and that little stroller thing for his foot, which happens to be the same foot he had a stress fracture in 2021. Yeah. If you look at it like Big Ben Roethlisberger, you've seen him after games wearing a boot, walking boot. A lot of guys wear the walking boot. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a serious injury, but it's just something to be mindful of as that is the same foot that he had the stress fracture in. So, that's all we know. We don't know anything. He's wearing a boot right now, but who knows? And he didn't finish minicamp because of some injury that we didn't know about. They never told us. So,
well, Big Ben wasn't moving around no way, so. He's got that cannon. That's all he had to do, stay in the pocket. He's not running out anywhere. Yeah. But Justyn Ross, he makes his money off of legs and hands. Yeah. So if he can't get up and catch a football or run down the field, that's bad business for him. That's bad ball, man. Big Ben though, it's okay moving over. Yeah. So I don't know. 2 different guys.
Yeah, no, I understand. But yeah, we're pulling for him. I actually did invest in Justyn Ross autograph rookie cards on that. Okay. I saw online. It was like they were $10. I got 2 of them. I was like, you know what? This kid pans out. Then you know what? I'm gonna pan out too.
Yeah. Look, man. Hey, my hats off to him, man. Justyn Ross, man, get better. Speedy recovery, brother. Speedy recovery. Take your time to get your body right. Stay mentally prepared and everything, even at mental reps, like, Cornell, mental reps. Those things are key, that you should stay engaged. Don't disappear. Sometimes what ends up happening, guys feel that they're injured, that they're not part of the team. And he's got to be at every meeting. He's got to be engaged with, lifting the weights, doing everything the other guys are doing. Get in there, talking to the guy, like all that. Just in the whole element of things, man, the whole environment. Just eat it all up, shoot.
Yeah, so soaking it in, and I think when we first got him, you and I were talking on the show, and we said like, I think probably give him a year to kind of soak it in on the practice squad and see how everything goes. And then we didn't know he had the injury, then he ends up having the injury. So now what we first said initially when we first signed, I was like, okay, we get him on a year to have him kind of soak everything in, and then next year, like let him get right and let him come out next year. So we'll see. Hopefully he makes a team this year. Hopefully his injuries not as bad as it looks with the little scooter and the boot, but we'll see.
Hey man, listen, and the reality is, this don't necessarily have to be the end of his journey. So even if let's say that the Chiefs don't retain him, but they don't sign him to the practice squad, shoot, there's other teams out there he can go to. The other guys might try to sign him. So the thing is, the best thing for you to do is be healthy. So you can go out and compete. That's the main thing. And right now, all we look for him is to be healthy at some point so he can go ahead and he can show what he can do, right?
Yep.
On a consistent basis. And that's all at NFL, consistency. Mm-hmm. That's what they need. They want that, okay? Got to be available. If you're not available, you can't play.
Yep. When they say the best ability is availability.
Availability, that's right.
Yep. Yeah, so pulling for Justyn Ross. Hopefully everything's all right with that. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get podcasts.